Mao Zedong was born in 1893 in a province in China and passed away in 1976 in Beijing. He was a military and Chinese Communist revolutionary leader who founded the People's Republic of China. He was the principal Chinese Marxist theorist, soldier, and statesman who led China's Communist Revolution. Mao served as founding father, chief of state, and governed as chairman of the Communists in China from its establishment in 1949 to 1959, and led the Chinese Communist Party from 1935 until his death in 1976. Although Mao's Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution were ill-conceived, having disastrous consequences, many of his goals, including stressing China's self-reliance, were generally commendable. The Great Leap Forward, which was led by Mao, was a social and economic campaign by the Communist Party of China from 1958 to 1961. It was aimed to rapidly transform the country from an agrarian economy into a socialist society through rapid industrialization and collectivization. However, it was widely considered to have caused the Great Chinese Famine. The Great Chinese Famine were between the years of 1959 and 1961. They were categorized by widespread famine, including drought, poor weather, and the policies from the Great Leap Forward of the Communist Party of China, which was said to contribute to this famine. The Cultural Revolution was a socio-political movement that took place in the People's Republic of China for 10 years. These were between 1966 and 1976. Mao, then chairman of the Communist Party, set into motion a stated goal of preserving what he called, quote, true, end quote, communist ideology. He did so in the country by purging remnants of capitalistic and traditional elements from Chinese society, and thus to reimpose Maoists, which is a political theory driven from the teachings of Mao, where its followers consider it an anti-revolutionist form of Marxism. Mao occupied a critical place in the story of the country's resurgence after China emerged from a half-century of revolution and it launched itself on a path of economic development and social change. Mao's rural background gave him a special interest in peasantry. In early 1927, after an intensive study of rural conditions in his native region, Mao predicted that the peasant masses would soon rise up and overturn the outdated primitive system of land ownership which exploited and oppressed them. He argued that the communists should lead the peasants or get out of the way. Mao finally did come into power during the famous Long March from 1934 to 1936, which happened during the Civil War when embattled Chinese communists broke through nationalist enemy lines and began an epic fight from their encircled headquarters in southwest China. The trek lasted a year and covered more or less than 4,000 miles, marking the emergence of Mao as the undisputed leader of the Chinese Communist Party. Mao built an intricate system of ideology, organization, guerrilla warfare, and rural recruitment, which quickly led to the emergence of a powerful political movement that was backed up by his own military forces, the Red Army. By the end of 1945, Mao was hailed as the party's leading political and military strategist and preeminent ideological thinker. Mao's thoughts represented the adaptation of Marxist theory, which is a political, economic, and social theory, principle, and policies that advocated by Karl Marx. It is a theory and practice of socialism, which includes the belief that the struggle between social classes is a major force that will eventually yield a classless society. To China's actual historical conditions, Mao's beliefs were it reinforced through the powerful personality cult, oppressive restructuring campaign, and came the ideological foundation of the Chinese Communist movement for years.
Mao Zedong was a very significant leader in Chinese history. He has had many accomplishments over his lifetime. There are five main topics to discuss in terms of Mao. 1. He was the founder of the PRC on October 1st, 1949. 2. He became a leader of the Communist Party of China in 1935 after his Long March. 3. He transformed China with his political initiatives. 4. He led China to separate from the Soviet Union, which meant that he broke China away from Russia and closer to the United States. And 5. He initiated the Cultural Revolution and had to restore order a year later to fix the chaos. The picture to the right is of the PRC on October 1st, 1949. Mao seemed to have many events happen in his lifetime that made him very aware of those around him. When he had people in power around him, he often questioned their loyalty and was afraid they were going to betray him. Because of those feelings, he created his own personality cult that praised him and displayed him as a godlike image, with his approval, of course. The photo on the upper right is of the Little Red Book, one of Mao's many publications during the People's Liberation Army. The photo on the left is also artwork from the People's Liberation Army.
My name is Nancy Phirom, and my portion of our case group project is Deng Xiaoping. Who is Deng Xiaoping? Deng Xiaoping was born to an affluent landowner and his second of four wives on August 22, 1904, in the Sichuan province of China. It wasn't until high school when he joined the Chinese Communist Party while studying abroad in France. He returned back to China in 1926 and later became a leading political and military organizer in the Jiangxi Soviet, which was also known as the Chinese Soviet Republic. It was an independent government established by Mao Zedong. Deng's political career rose quickly as he served as a party official of the Chinese Revolutionary Army during the war against Japan. His military tactics and organizational skills made him noticeable, and later he was appointed as regional party leader in the southwest of China. It wasn't until after Mao Zedong's death in 1977 that he became leader of the People's Republic of China. Mao Zedong praised Deng Xiaoping for his organizational skills during the war. However, Mao and Deng parted ways during the Cultural Revolution, as Mao did not like that Deng was making decisions without his consultation. During the Cultural Revolution, Mao's radical supporters had Deng and his family exiled to the province of Jiangxi for re-education, manual labor, and study the writings of Mao. He was brought back in the public view by Premier Zhou Enlai in 1973. Zhou thought that Deng's skills were needed to improve the economy. Deng was thought to be Zhou's successor after his death, but Mao's Gang of Four stripped him of his leadership once again. Soon after Mao's death in 1977, Deng made his political comeback with the approval of Mao's successor, Huai Guofeng. Deng's political skills and huge support led Huai to surrender his chairmanship to Deng. When Deng Xiaoping rose to chairman, he came up with new policies. The Reform and Opening policy was a policy in which required China to open to the rest of the world in order to attract foreign investment and to educate students abroad in the latest technologies. The Four Modernizations was a goal set by Zhou Enlai, but it was enacted by Deng. It was a plan designed for China to have economic power in the world market relating to agriculture, military, industry, science, and technology. Because of this plan, farmers were able to sell privately and own an income gain. In order to control China's population, Deng created the one-child policy. Families were only allowed to have one child unless the firstborn was a girl. The Communist Party experienced serious confrontation from dissatisfied citizens who believed the reforms being made were too modest and not reaching all of the classes in China. Challenges to the party came in the form of the Democracy Wall movement and the Tiananmen Square mass demonstration. Deng removed protesters by force and imprisonment, which created a huge worldwide controversy as hundreds if not thousands of demonstrators were killed. During Deng Xiaoping's leadership, China's economy improved significantly. It quickly became a worldwide leader in trade. Their GDP quadrupled between 1980s to 1995. China achieved the average growth rate of 9.5% since the economic reform. Deng stayed in power until he stepped down in 1992. As the most important man and leader in China since the death of Mao Zedong, Deng changed the face of China forever. And that concludes my presentation.
Deng Xiaoping played a vital role in Chinese history. He developed the four modernizations in 1876. He reformed China by setting up HRSs, which HRSs are household responsibility systems, which meant each household must be held accountable to the state for only what it agrees to produce, and it is free to keep surplus output for private use. He opened up international trade, including trade with the U.S. His goal for China was to improve the citizens' living situations. He played a major role in the Tiananmen Square massacre. Students and citizens throughout China were demonstrating their freedom of speech and press, but Deng ordered the military to move in and clear the square, which created thousands of casualties. This video is of actual footage by a CNN news reporter that shows Chinese citizens gathering together to fight for their freedom of speech on June 4, 1989.
Xi Jinping was born in 1959 as what some may call a princeling, a term used to describe someone born from a revolutionary veteran. Jingping's father, Shi Zhongxun, was one of the Communist Party's founding fathers and fought alongside Chairman Mao. As a young boy, at the age of 15, Jingping was sent to work in a farming village called Lingjihe for 7 years. Learning what it is like to be poor and in solitude, Jingping gained valuable knowledge of life and what hard work meant. After leaving the farm life, he went to college, studying chemical engineering at Tsinghua University in Beijing, and earned a Ph.D. Being called the most powerful national leader in the world, Jinping has taken leadership roles for the Communist Party, the state, the economy, and the military, most recently being compared to the great Mao Zedong for his strong leadership stance with zero tolerance towards corrupt officials. Jinping took office at the end of 2012 and went right to work, pursuing the centralization of authority. He introduced a plan for the Chinese dream, which included controlling and reinforcing the monopoly movement that has ruled the People's Republic of China since 1949. Under Xi's rule, international projects are underway, adapting the plan One Belt, One Road, funding infrastructure to transport routes and energy generation plants to places as far as the Gulf of Mexico, Russia, and Germany. By promoting infrastructure projects that would provide work for PRC firms, China is setting up a strong presence worldwide for the years to come. Ever since China created the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, it has had an outstanding acceptance of more than 50 countries. This is just one of the signs that demonstrates just how eager other countries are to do business with China. Xi's new role as the commander-in-chief will be similar to the way the US presidents act as the head over all other positions. Xi is China's head of state, chief of the ruling Communist Party, chairman of the military commission, and also operationally now the commander-in-chief, an accumulation of authority that analysts say is on par with late leaders like Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping. Looking to the future with the current circumstances like deflation and a mass amount of debt brought on by bad investments, China needs to ensure sustainable growth. By reducing the dependence on exports and fixed assets investments, they could increase domestic consumption. She said that whenever there were issues that the government was incapable of handling, the public should be given back the power to tackle them. If she wants to be effective to China's economic reforms, he should focus on structural liberalization in the future, which could have invaluable political implications and will cut down state power, giving it back to the people. The next generation in China today are striving for democracy and innovation, not to be hindered from the strict regulations.
Xi Jinping has only been in power for a short time, but he has played a role and will continue to play a part in Chinese history. He strongly believes in anti-corruption policies and is a huge advocate for the Chinese dream. In 2015, he was ranked number 5 in terms of the most powerful people in the world. All three of these leaders have significant roles in Chinese history, and they have similar views. All three of these leaders are a part of the Communist Party in some way, shape, or form. All of these leaders are influential and have many followers. All of these leaders also differ. Mao is an authoritarian leader, and many Chinese citizens frightened and were angered by him. Deng was a market-driven leader that had a decisive leadership style, but he was not a presidential leader. Xi Jinping is very educated and easygoing. He also comes from a military and very elite family. He inspires fellow Chinese people. He is an economically liberal and politically conservative. There have been many people that relate the American dream to the Chinese dream. The American dream has a huge emphasis on the individual citizens taking control of their own life with little government involvement, whereas the Chinese dream's main focus is on their government, the state being a natural ally and a crucial facilitator of this process and strengthening the parties, which in this case is the Communist Party's absolute claim on power.